Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. No matter how the market's doing, it's important to remember that those index numbers that we always cite, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, they're capturing a smaller picture of the overall market. As far as 2022 is considered, here's what we've seen. The Dow Jones is down about 10%, the Nasdaq about 22%, and the S&P 500, well, that's down about 14%. Sure, those numbers are a bit grim, but it's worth noting that there's 2,800 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange, another 3,626 over on the Nasdaq. And while these indices do a really good job at capturing the overall picture of the market, they don't accurately capture every single movement of every single stock there is out there. While we are in a very down market right now, there have been stocks that have performed phenomenally well thus far this year. As of May 2022, here are the best performing stocks year to date. The top performer has a 90% rate of return in just the past 4 months. However, all the other all-stars have rates of return ranging from 36 to almost 60%, which is wonderful. You might notice something when you look at this list. All except for 2 of the year's top performers are in the energy sector. Oil and gas prices started creeping up as global supply chains were disrupted due to the pandemic, but once Russia invaded the Ukraine, they shot up steeply. And these higher prices have led to higher profits for these energy companies, and a greater profitability is reflected in a better performing stock. Many analysts still have a positive outlook on the energy sector, but it's important to note that the top performers of today, this month, this year are not guaranteed to be the top performers tomorrow or going forward. The market is constantly in flux, and just because an individual stock or an entire sector like the energy sector has done well, that tells us nothing about its future returns. You know what they say, past performance is no guarantee of future results. As a matter of fact, that is an SEC mandated disclaimer. It could very well be that today's all-stars are tomorrow's underperformers, and today's underperformers are making headlines in the next couple weeks for rebounding. So if the energy sector has been doing so well, as a matter of fact, it's the only sector that's positive this year so far, what industries have been hit the hardest? Well, as it turns out, the tech sector has taken among the biggest blows. The worst performing stocks thus far this year have taken some heavy hits, with Netflix losing almost 70% of its value. Of the 5 worst performers, 4 of them are in the tech sector. As a matter of fact, some of the most widely known and widely talked about stocks, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, are all negative, each posting double-digit negatives for 2022. In fact, if you had a portfolio with an equal distribution of each of these stocks, year to date, you would be down about 18.6%. It's worth noting that the S&P is only down 13.86% for the year. By picking individual stocks, you may come out ahead or you may come out behind. More often than not, statistically speaking, you're more likely to come out behind because picking the right stocks at the right moment is very difficult to do. Warren Buffett is a very well-known man, to say the least. He is someone that I greatly admire. Some people call him the world's greatest investor. Whether or not you think so, the man is an absolute legend. But get this, Warren Buffett in the past decade has only beat the total stock market in 2 of those 10 years, in 2018 and in 2015. Over a 30-year period, U.S. stocks have averaged an annual return of 10.49%, and Buffett's portfolio has averaged 10.06%. I say this because beating the market is hard to do. Perhaps you can select those individual stocks that do beat the market, but the odds are you can't. The odds are you're like the rest of us regular folk out here who can't beat the market. Buffett himself even says by periodically investing in an index fund and knowing nothing, investors can actually outperform most investment professionals. In fact, upon his death, the trustee taking care of Buffett's estate and under his written instruction will invest 90% of his wife's inheritance into index funds and the remaining 10% will go into treasury bills. It's not impossible to beat the market, it's just improbable. Yes, there are a handful of actively managed funds that do beat it every single year, but it's not the norm. The fact of the matter is 80% of actively managed funds fail to meet their benchmark every single year. And over a 15-year time period, 90% of actively managed funds fail to outperform or keep pace with the market. Winning is not the norm. It's almost as if by acknowledging that you're not this superhuman investment pro, that you actually become a better investor. By just dollar cost averaging into an index fund, you sort of settle for being average. And by being average, you come out ahead. You actually end up beating most other investors, and you end up putting in a heck of a lot less work. You aren't out there researching companies, executing stop orders, or buying on margin. Instead, you're just putting your investments on autopilot and continuing on to live your life. And if you buy these index funds or you already own them, like the Total Stock Market Fund from Vanguard or some S&P 500 index fund, every single one of those best performing stocks for the year that I mentioned, guess what? You already own them. But on the flip side of that, all of those worst performing stocks, you own them too. So it's good news followed up with a little bit of salt. My advice and what I do is always the same. Buy the market. Use index funds or ETFs. Buy it, hold it, that's it. It simplifies your investing experience and it stacks the deck in your favor because those best performing stocks will constantly change from time to time. But if you own it all the time, you're guaranteed to hold those best performers. Well, that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you got anything at all out of this video, please give it a like, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I post new videos every single week, so I will see you soon. Bye. Do I look like an Oompa Loompa? I feel like I look orange. I don't know, I hope not. We'll have a positive this month, this year, tells us, well, I don't know, in flux. Are not guaranteed, Well, that's upsetting. No, I would not. In that region, frick. As far as 2020, within, I don't like that. Let's get me centered. Par for the course. I have a plane and a fridge going off right now. This is really annoying. A coup. It's like a bird, an aku. If you look out the window, we have a beautiful aku over here. Calming down. Oh my God, is that plane circling my house? Like, what the heck? Oh, we are recording. My bad.